So hello, chat yacht. Welcome to Spyro. I'm just gonna start it up. No, little to no pomp and circumstance around this. It's Spyro. If you're wondering what my history with Spyro is, just for those of you who care. So first of all, I did do this, kinda, sorta, maybe, not really. This is more of a follow-up to that clickbait thing I did on YouTube. Which I thought was funny, but was kind of, at the time, but was definitely in poor taste. It's like, I don't want to be associated as the clickbait guy, but you know, push them to the side. I think some of the jokes I made in those videos were okay, but, you know, I'm not doing that again. So here we go. Here's Spyro, Reignited. I'm gonna open up a new save. I'm gonna delete that. What? Huh? Okay, that's weird. I don't remember why that's a thing, but sure. We're just gonna play Spyro 1. So Spyro, I do have some affinity for. I'm not a big PlayStation guy, but early stream I see, this is pretty much normal time. Anyways, how's it going? So I grew up with Spyro on like I think the PS1 classics. I grew up with the Game Boy Advance games. Early stream, this is normal time. I'm usually late. So, that's why it's quote-unquote early.
It's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
Oh, what am I doing? I should have saved this for the Switch version. I guess I'll play this and then play one of the other games on Switch, because I'm not doing all three at once. That'd be insane. Simple, dumb plot. Why does he have memes on the wall? Knowledge? Wait, what?
Looks like I've got some things to do.
Why is he just one of these guys who just printed out memes on the wall? Okay, I'll see you around, Pseudo. But yeah, this is one of those games that I just have so much affinity for because of the way I grew up with it. Man, you know, that motion blur is we'll just turn that off for other people. The motion, without motion blur, it doesn't look bad. It's just, it feels hollow. And it's very clear that it's running at 30. No. I'm sorry, a lot of people hate motion blur. I kind of like it. Also, I will be checking out the yeah, it's music, all right. So I think I tried to stream this game once before, and it oh, I have inverted controls on. Wow, inverted camera controls on. And I didn't realize it at first because, like, I'm just used to it with Spyro. Actually, I'm not. Wait, no I'm not. What am I talking about? Spyro didn't even have right stick controls, so what am I talking about? Right stick camera. Anyways, I grew up with the PSP version, or not the PSP version. I grew up with the fucking... Oh, wow, that's a strong blur. No, I can't even look at that anymore. I can't. No, like, having no motion blur is, in a 30 FPS game, is like not... No, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, Game Boy Advance games were good. I mean, they weren't good. I remember kind of hating them and like not understanding the goal. But I had like a compilation on the GBA. Man, they need a slider like the PS4 Spider-Man. Yeah, it's just hard to look at. That's just hard to look at. It's hard to look at either one of these. It's so hard to look at either one. I'll get used to the motion blur, it's fine. The motion blur I think does look better, but if you hate it, let me know.
Thank you for releasing me, Spyro.
For this guy. Look at this jabroni.
World, then find the balloonist. He'll transport you to the next world.
What about Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
The motion blur looks better in cutscenes and stuff, but this, it looks... They just needed to tone it down like they did with Crash. But I stopped noticing it at some point, so it's fine.
Keep your horns on, Spyro. You have much to learn.
I'm gonna be talking about the motion blur through the entire game, aren't I? Like, the fact that they gave me the option to turn it off makes it just, like, so much more noticeable.
Keep an eye on him and see what I mean.
Like, some people I could see getting motion sick from this, but it's yeah. But I grew up with, like, I kind of grew up with the OG Spyros. But I grew up starting with, like, the GBA Spyro and then the Legend of Spyro games. I'd watched my cousin Luke playing Spyro on the PS2. The Legend of Spyro, A New Beginning, I think it was, on the PS2, and I was like, I want this, this looks amazing, it looks so epic and cool. And it was good. But I got the DS version. It was like a top-down game with like really simplistic combat and shit. And it was something. It wasn't a great something, but it was something. And then at some point I ended up getting a PS3, and I also ended up getting the, come on, I can do this. I ended up just getting the PS1 Classics Edition. Skill point. Oh yeah, there's achievements in this game, but there's skill points. I guess that's like there were skill point. Were there skill points in the original Spyros? Or was that like a thing from Ratchet and Clank that they added in later? I don't know. Also, this fucking dumb roll is never needed ever. It's needed for one level and one boss in this game, and that's it. You can forget about it for the rest of the game. For the rest of the 3 games, actually, because it's in the other 3 for some weird reason. Is this door ever supposed to open? Like, I feel like this door is supposed to open at some point. I don't know. Okay, no. I'll get used to this. This is probably easier for everybody to look at, but... I don't know, a lack of motion blur, especially in a 30 FPS game in today's world, just makes it seem, like, dated.
Hey, Spyro, press the jump button twice to glide. And don't be afraid.
Afraid? Of what?
Falling from high mountain peaks? Plummeting into prehistoric glaciers?
Oh, that.
The
animation's great. Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up sticking with motion blur for the majority of the game. What is happening here? What is this? I don't know. It's hard to see most things in this game with the motion blur on. but you can chalk up part of that to the 30 FPS. I just want like a slider or just a general reduction in motion blur. I don't need it turned on or off. Again, a lot of people hate it, but I don't. Yeah, I think I explained my history of Spyro. I keep interrupting myself to talk about motion blur like a fucking moron, but you know. I think it's a great series overall, but there's one thing I also want to change. Typically, I like the original music better. I think the Reignited stuff in places sounds good. I'm just listening to the music now. It's great music, but it's like trying to like get like do I like more this or the original? No, something about that original music is just better. In terms of like what I like more, oh right, I have camera control. In terms of like what I like more, yeah, I like Spyro more than Crash. Spyro's just better. The bigger, more open 3D collectathon kind of platforming, the overall tone, the music even. Look at him fly around. Look at him breathe fire. I don't know. Crash, to me, even on the... I have the old PS1. I have a couple of the old PS1 games. I don't have Crash 3. I don't have Crash 3, I think. Nor do I have... Wait, this is one I want to hear. The... Reignited. Yeah, this sounds a little bit more full. A lot of the time, the composition... Like, the composition's no different. But the instrumentation sometimes a little bit more full sounding. It's a little bit more like cleaner. Nils?
Welcome to Town Square, Spyro. Begin exploring by
Yeah.
to this area with the bulls.
The soundtrack is another part that's a really big like nostalgia part of the game for a lot of people and for me. Oh shit, what am I doing? Wrong option. Yeah, I'm realizing like I can hardly see things that are like coming at me with the motion blur turned on, so I just have to turn it off. It's too much. But the soundtrack, again, if you didn't know, composed by not Grant Kirkhope, Stuart Copeland. The guy from The Police. The drummer from The Police, rather. I'm not big into The Police. In fact, I haven't really heard any of their music.
Thanks, Spyro.
I like the cake.
I have the worst itch on the tip of my wing. Did you know that you get your longest glides by pressing the jump button?
Yeah, cool. I know. It's just, yeah, the soundtrack good. I keep getting interrupted because I want the game to play and talk and do things. But I got a lot to say about Spyro, so it's pissing me off. I think I showed that I did stream this game once before. I haven't saved it. I think what I was doing in that stream was I was using the PlayStation streaming service. Not PS Now. Got him. That was much easier than I remember. I was using the streaming service to get this game to record on PC, and it looked really crusty. I mean, I'm still recording it at like 720p. So it's still going to look crusty no matter what, but... I wonder if I could do recordings at 1080 and then stream it at 720. I have to stream it at 720 because if I don't, the internet will die. Fuck. When it comes to Spyro vs. Crash, I definitely like Spyro more. I think Spyro got the better remake, in my opinion. The lighting is, like, a lot of the lighting in this game just looks better than Crash. A lot of the color choices in Crash were weird and ugly. This doesn't seem to have any of those problems. The color choices and the lighting doesn't seem to be broken or weird. A lot of the things in the Insane Trilogy just looked washed out and gross. Like, some water areas looked bad. The reflection on, like, the mud in, like, Crash 3 doesn't look very good. On top of that, the collision detection in the Insane Trilogy is awful. It's really bad. Like, it's some of the worst I've ever played in a platformer. The fact that you can, like, slide off so many platforms and the platforming is so precise, it just... It feels like you can't trust whatever you're looking at on the screen. And it's awful to play. I know a lot of people say that that's not a big deal, but it really is. Like, it's just making the game slightly more polished and, like, having hitboxes be slightly more just better would have completely fixed that game for me, but I can't play it.
Thank you for releasing me, Spyro. You can always check your progress by accessing the guidebook through the pause menu.
What is this guy? Fucking jabroni. Weird pot boy. On top of that, I don't think the original Crash games control and, like, generally control any better or worse than the Insane Trilogy. But here, Spyro controls a million times better. He feels like Mario when you're controlling him. It's that good. Spyro always felt a little bit tanky in the other game.
See a man dressed in blue running around here? He's a thief, and he's stolen a dragon egg. You've got to track him down and...
I did that.
Egg! Run! Run! I'm getting a little winded.
Calm down! Okay, level's 100% done. Good. Like, there's a few things like, just the fact that Spyro will stand in any, like, direction you point him in is great. It's got better analog control than the original. Which, yeah, the original had analog control, but it wasn't good. I think turning just works better overall. You'll notice if you turn up the music, you can hear, like, there's thumping. Like, there's bongos when you run. I didn't notice that before. It's a nice addition to the dynamic music thing. I don't know how quiet the game is compared to what I normally got going, but here, I can check. I can always just check. Well, after a few ads for, let's see what the ads for today. Wait a minute, what the fuck is this? Fire? Oh, Fire Festival. So I haven't heard of Fire Festival, but I've heard it was a shit show. Just like such a big shit show, like people were hurt and possibly died. Fire fraud, something like that. It's on Amazon, so Amazon's advertising their shows to me. So that's something. I'll check out what was going on with that, but I definitely won't be... No. I definitely won't be looking at the Amazon version. Yeah. Let's kill these fucking Norks. Get them over here. Yes! Fuck you! Got him. Yeah, I think audio's okay. More or less. I think the PS4 is a little bit more quiet than the Switch normally is, but... So I had a lot of trouble finding the last gem in this level. Like, a lot of trouble. On my last playthrough, and it was right in here somewhere, so I'm gonna just like, I think it like blended into the grass when I saw it before, so let's see. No, we're good. Speaking of the grass, wow, this game is gorgeous. That's one thing like I just have to point out. Even the Crash remake did look gorgeous, but this one was this one's especially good. I mean, that dragon's, you know, texture ability does look a little crusty, but Spyro overall looks great. A great model. Little more definition in the texturing would be nice. A little tiny bit, but other than that, it's, you know, compared to the original especially, it's fucking night and day difference. And there we go. Yeah, level 100% complete. One thing I like is that the hub worlds do serve as their own little levels. Not just hub worlds for you to get from point A to point B. They're like, hey, there's lots of stuff in these levels, so play them. And you do, and it's fun. Again, I'm just gonna be talking about Crash a lot because it's just fucking... Crash is a weird game, right? Crash is weird. It's a 3D platformer, but unlike, you know, games of this style where they follow the Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie trend, that game was sort of like a linear 2D platformer, but it was a 3D platformer. Like, I didn't like how it doesn't have camera control. I didn't like how Crash really controlled, especially in the first game. Crash was slippery and weird in the first game. I've been trying to play Crash 1, which is overall harder and worse than the other two, but like even Crash 2, I had a lot of issues with in the not Reignited, in the fucking Insane trilogy.
Oh, it's you. I wasn't sure if you'd escape those annoying little creatures. Of course they wouldn't bother me, but here's a hint. Their metal armor is fireproof, but a charge attack will take care of them.
All the dragons in this one are cool. I'm like, even the ones that are like, thank you for releasing me. Like, they're still cool. Okay, so yeah, here's a key chest. I can hear my PS4 buckling, by the way. I'm running this on the Pro, so I think there's a few graphical upgrades that it has versus the, you know, the base. I wouldn't be sure, though. One way or another, you're getting a less crusty version of it. If I was running this on the base PS4, I don't know if the base PS4 could handle all these polygons. It might be very crusty. It's still only running on a 1080p TV. I don't need much more than that, but it does look nice. It looked very nice. Speaking of hardware, though, apparently the Xbox One Scarlet, whatever the fuck, the red, the Xbox Red, is what I'm gonna call it from now on. The red is, it's gonna be totally backwards compatible with all Xbox One games. And, yeah, fucking better be. Most people skipped out on that console.
Big enemies like this Nork with the club cannot be charged, but a quick flame, that should defeat them.
So I'm hoping we're gonna get to see a lot of Xbox One X games or even Xbox One games get enhanced for the Scarlet. They probably won't be, you know. People are probably going to be working on the new games. From Software, for example, is probably going to work on Elder Ring rather than working on more Sekiro. Unless they're doing Sekiro DLC, which, yeah, fucking better. Fucking better do Sekiro DLC. Sekiro DLC. Sekiro. Sekiro! I need to upload those VODs. I still have the files. I still have the video files on my computer. I just don't have them on YouTube yet. For some reason. For some fucking reason, I don't have that stream on YouTube. Because I'm a lazy asshole. Where am I going next? Stonehill, that. I did that level. Oh, what's next? Wait. Did I do Stonehill? Oh, I didn't finish Dark Hollow? What am I doing? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna do a 100% playthrough. I'm gonna try to. Just depends on what becomes fun and what isn't fun. Wow, I am still dropping frames. Like a moron. Welcome back to the stream. The stream very good, yes. Anyways, we were just talking about Project Scarlet. Xbox, the new Xbox. It's gonna be backwards compatible with everything. Thank fucking God. It better be. Like, if Project Scarlet wasn't gonna be backwards compatible with everything, I think people would be pissed. Not just because really all they've got is Halo on the next console, which that's unsurprisingly, I am not sold on Halo, as I am usually not. But I don't think Halo Infinite can pull a Breath of the Wild where I'm going to stream tonight. Like, for how long do you mean?
Want to zoom in and look around. Oh, your secret's safe with me.
But, like, it is tonight for me, so I don't know what you mean. Unless you're on, like, East Coast or something. Just how long? I'll probably give this a solid 2 hours, then I'll give Pokemon 2 hours, so... yeah. Like, I don't see Halo blowing people out of the water, especially after last Halo. It was like, okay... what are you gonna do with this? Oh, it's late noon for you. Oh. So you're like somewhere in Europe. Okay, thank you, big fucking gork. Take that. 95, the key, right. No, Texas? Geography's hard. Okay, geography's hard, motherfucker. Where's Sparks? Oh. It's not here. You know what is easier, though? Talking about video games and playing video games, so that's what we're gonna do. On top of that, in terms of other hardware that's coming out very soon, a Switch Mini's been confirmed by accident. So there's a Chinese company who makes accessories for Nintendo. I think they're called Hansan, something like that. It's an H and an S, I remember that much. But they're making a case for the Switch, and they have a Switch Mini, and they have their own little mock-up. It's still, like, they still use one of the, like, PNG images you can find on Google Images of, like, somebody photoshopping together Switch Mini. but they also use a 3D model of their own Switch Mini that looks pretty alright. I mean, if the Switch Mini, depending on what the Switch Mini is going to be, because here's the thing. It's perfectly possible if we, I want to show this off, because it's perfectly possible that we could get a Switch Pro Mini. So, if we look at this mock-up, if I could find it, it was a video covered by Kevin Kenson, but this is the Switch Up. If you've heard of the Switch Up, it looked good. So here it is. You gotta so that thing looks super sexy. The whole point of it is supposed to be that it's not just a mini. The point is supposed to be that it's also like more powerful. That's why it's Switch Up. There's also a few ideas that it has where you can do this. You can do this with the system. That looks nice. That looks like a really good idea. So if you want the dock, I mean, if it's a Switch Pro model, I would expect it to come with a Pro controller. Because the Joy-Cons, well, let's be honest, the Joy-Cons aren't very good. We can see that it, you know, we can see the mock-up versus the Switch. So I'll just like zoom in on this and like scroll basically as we go. They'll just use a normal Switch. The thing is, this will be more powerful, and like, unless you want to miss out on like the new big games that would be coming out, probably like a Sekiro port or like a new Doom or Wolfenstein port or something, you're probably gonna have to get the new Switch eventually. But you can see like the difference between the old Switch and the new Switch. New Switch has bigger sticks, bigger buttons, bigger D-pad, all that. It's actually not a mini, now that I look at it, but it is a unibody. Or is it a mini? Like 1080p screen. Apparently guarantees 60 FPS, which no, that won't happen. Here's the interesting part. NVIDIA quad-core Cortex A72 CPU, an NVIDIA Turing high-performance GPU. I don't know what the Turing is, but it looks good. It seems good. Obviously, 64 gigs of onboard storage is better than whatever the hell we got with the 32 gigs we got with the standard Switch. I don't know what asymmetrical gameplay means, but it seems alright. That's one thing I wanted to know. Like, if there were to be a Switch Pro to come out, which, yeah, it would have to have exclusives that you can't get on the Switch Normal or Switch Mini. Would people still end up getting the Switch Pro? And I'm not talking exclusives like, oh, you're getting like a Luigi's Mansion port or a Xenoblade Chronicles port. I'm talking like the new fucking... like the new big third-party shooter. Like playing Metroid Prime 4 at 60 FPS versus 30. Like that kind of thing. I think I didn't do this level. That's probably the kinds of things that would happen with a Switch Pro. So would people still want to get a Switch Pro, even if like they'd be just doing shit? I don't know. Because what I'm thinking about is just the new consoles, the Scarlet and the PS5, they're going to be able to handle ray tracing, which is technology that right now is physically impossible with even a GTX 1080 Ti. It's physically impossible, you can't run it. It just looks like a bunch of dark gray static. The 20 series NVIDIA GPUs are literally the only cards on the market that can do real-time ray tracing. Which, yeah, it looks good. It looks good, but it's not... Like, no games have really... Aside from Quake 2, no games have really taken advantage of it. On top of that, the latest technology is already behind on ray tracing. So there's a massive performance hit already when it comes to ray tracing. Even in a game like Quake 2, you're not getting the top frame rates.
When you free a dragon or step on one of the
Yeah. So it just makes me wonder, where does the Switch fit into all of that? Because if the latest Xbox and the latest PlayStation are going to be literally so powerful that old hardware is physically incapable of running the new tech, where does the Switch stand in all of that? Because at that point, games that are coming out on these systems that use RTX ray tracing technology is not going to be able to run on the Switch no matter what kind of magic downscaling wizardry they do, unless they straight up build the game from the ground up. Like, actually from the ground up. And I understand that, like, a lot of games have to be reworked and retooled very heavily and use dynamic resolutions and such already on the Switch, but it's gonna be different because you won't have to remake pretty much every asset and the entire lighting engine just to get it to run on the Switch. You don't have to right now for modern games, but in a year or two, you will have to. So Switch games are gonna not happen anymore. A couple years into the system's lifespan now, it's gonna end up like the Wii or the Wii U.
For the longest glide, press...
I don't care, I know how to glide. And there is no mobile processor right now that can handle ray tracing. So unless Nintendo like makes their own or works with Nvidia to make another, it's not gonna happen. Again, that's why like people talking about Switch revisions has been happening for years and years now, since the console's inception. I don't know. Like, we're already missing out, like, the Switch is already missing out on, like, for example, the Dark Souls trilogy. We're not even getting Dark Souls 2 on Switch, which is ridiculous, seeing as it came out on the same console as Dark Souls 1. I was happy with Dark Souls 1 on Switch, by the way. Just upscale it to 1080p, and that's all you did. That's all they did. That's all they did with Dark Souls 1. And they made Blighttown not run like shit, but it's just kind of happenstance with the hardware, you know? It's not something they actively had to really change that much. 1080p was something I'm sure that, like, they just had to turn on a setting. And if there was quite a lot they had to optimize the code for to make it run well on the Switch, because that fucking delay for Dark Souls Remastered was ridiculous. Like, outside of all that, we still never got Dark Souls 2, and we especially haven't gotten Dark Souls 3, which is running on the latest Souls from software engine, whatever you want to call it. So we haven't seen Sekiro on it, we haven't seen Dark Souls 3.
Watch the dragonfly, Spyro.
We're missing out.
His color indicates his power. When he
We're getting the
eats
Spyro
butterflies,
trilogy
he
way
stays
later.
strong.
I think Crash Team Racing is coming out later on Switch. Pretty much the only game I can think of that had absolute faith in the Switch and came out at the right time with the Switch was the only few games I can think of are Sonic Mania, Sonic Forces, and Doom Eternal. That's it. Even Bloodstained, an indie game. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, made by the guy who did Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Even that game is getting a week delay on the Switch for some reason. I don't know why. But people are going to be playing that on PC and Xbox and PS4 now. They're not going to be playing that on Switch. Especially if there's a graphical downgrade. Like, I haven't gotten that game yet just simply because I can't afford it. And when I'll be able to afford it, then yeah, the Switch version it'll just be out. And I can get it on Switch, but if I could afford that game, I'd get it now and I'd get it on PC. No doubt. Am I done this level? I'm not. Where the fuck am I going? Oh, there's still shit up there on the cliff. And I don't think my Switch was a bad investment. I think Nintendo doing everything they can to make it so that the Switch is lasting for as long as it can is really admirable and is really pro-consumer, and I like that. And while I thought the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X were going to be very anti-consumer, at first, they're really not. They're just better versions of the consoles you already own, and there's no exclusives for each system versus the original version. If you own an Xbox One, you're going to be able to play every Xbox One game. If you own a PS4, you can play every PS4 game. But the little graphical bonuses on the newer systems are appreciated. But they're not required. That changed with the new 3DS, so I don't see Nintendo going back on what they did on the 3DS just for the Switch. On top of that, the Switch Mini, what does that say about what they consider the Switch to be? More people consider the Switch right now to be a portable system with TV capabilities, I think. And that's not a bad mindset for it to be, but you gotta keep in mind, Nintendo really shouldn't be thinking this way. And I started to notice that Nintendo is thinking this way when I looked at the gameplay for Pokemon Sword and Shield. It has where is this goddamn gem? It has a little bit of, for Sword and Shield, there's a little bit of optimization for the newer hardware and all that. There's a little bit of new gameplay for the hardware, but it still, effectively to me, looks like a 3DS game. Just with a big open world section that kind of couldn't have been done on the 3DS. Okay, where's the last gem? What is this? Oh. Just thinking about Sword and Shield worries me because it does seem like they're not taking the Switch as seriously as they should be. Game Freak, at least. Game Freak isn't taking the Switch as seriously as the first home console Pokemon. The game has lots of pop-in, it has lots of crusty-looking textures. It still seems like fun. I don't know. I actually don't know if Sword and Shield will be all that fun. After the whole, debacle with the deleting Pokemon, I don't see it being that great. I see it being as probably going to be the laziest Pokemon game ever made. Which, that's Game Freak's issue. They know they can just sit on their laurels, pump out a Pokemon game no matter what it is, and make a ginormous profit. But, like, them saying, oh, we are straight up deleting Pokemon from the game, and you will never be able to import Pokemon from older games, certain Pokemon from older games, into Sword and Shield if they're not already in the region. Oh, shit. Yeah, rip Ditto. And Ditto's a cool Pokemon. I would want a Ditto. I know my cousin who owns a Ditto, and they would be like, hey, I'd want this Ditto in Sword and Shield. Like, the dream with Pokemon was you could play Pokemon as a kid, and then you could grow up to be an adult with your own kids, and that child that you now have is playing with your fucking Pokemon that you trained and grew up with. now that dream is gone, apparently forever. Along with Sword and Shield being not very good. I might actually skip out on Sword and Shield until I hear about a patch where you can finally get the national decks. You can finally complete the national decks in Sword and Shield. It's not just like, it's not even like you can, it's not even the dream where you can like give your kid a hand-me-down that you grew up with or whatever. There's lots of people in the competitive scene who just won't be able to use Pokemon that they've been shiny hunting and breeding and training for years and years. Because I know there are going to be a lot of people who in the post-game want to use their shiny fucking Charizard or whatever that they grinded for back in Gen 1. Or Fire Red and Leaf Green or whatever. And they just won't be able to. Assuming... I bet like Charizard is going to end up in the game. That'd be a stretch if they just took out the Gen 1 starters, but... It's worrying. The state of the Switch is worrying because it's becoming less and less of a mainstay home console and more of just Nintendo's new portable. It was the home console for a while they still treated the 3DS like its own little branch. But now that like they're completely ignoring the 3DS and that thing's just, you know, dead in the water, it feels like Nintendo's treating the Switch as the main portable. But they don't have a home console branch anymore. I mean, even when the Wii U was out and they still had their home console branch, they just treated Wii U games like 3DS games. That was fucking stupid, but... I don't know. I am ignoring all of Spyro to talk about bullshit that I don't like.
Come on. I think I smell a barbecue.
Be careful, Spyro.
I don't know.
He has many tricks up his sleeve.
It makes me wonder if the next console Nintendo does is going to be a hybrid. If it's not a hybrid, that seems like a waste. A big waste. But if it is, it also seems like it won't be able to run everything I want it to run. Get over here, fucking mutt. Nope, that didn't happen. No, you don't. What? What? It makes me think if there's going to be a Switch Mini, there's not going to be a Switch Pro, but there's going to be a straight up new generation. For Nintendo, like, coincide with the new generation of Xbox games. But it'll still more or less function like a Switch Pro, where you can play new Nintendo system games on your Switch and Switch Mini, sometimes. Or it'll be backwards compatible with Switch games, which that'd be cool. But because it's having hybrid systems in the market is such a new thing, it's going to be really interesting to see how Nintendo handles it. Got him. Because just judging by like the one guy in the audience who's telling me about this stuff, you don't seem like you're gonna get a Switch Mini or a Switch Pro or even a Switch Mini. I mean, Switch Mini would make less sense if you already own a Switch, but a Switch Pro, it's like I'd want to run Wolfenstein at a decent resolution, you know? I'd want to run Xenoblade at minimum 720p when I'm playing on the go. You know, I'd want to see Breath of the Wild played in a full 1080p, same with Mario Odyssey. Like you can already do with Wii U emulators on PC. Oh, these drop frames are scummy. These are really scummy. That's an awful bit rate too. I might have to switch to XSplit or something because I have no idea what's going on. It's so scummy to look at this stream. It really is. I'm sorry. Really scummy. Even like what's happening here. Okay, here's hoping stream looks better. Also, that does look bright. That looks really bright. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there in terms of the brightness of the stream. No, that looks fine. Yeah, the bitrate is better here on XSplit for sure. And that's a dropped frame. Is it not? No, I don't think so. Wait, is that? Oh yeah, it is. Well, that's very good. Wow, what a scummy stream. I kind of have to end the stream. I kind of have to end the stream and then come back later just to figure out what's going on here. I've been streaming this for almost an hour and like it looks fine. It'll look fine on YouTube, but Twitch is having problems. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to end the stream here. I'm sorry about this, that it's cut so early. I'll come back later with some Pokemon, but yeah, this is a problem. I can't stream this. At least not right now. So I have to go figure out what's going on with my internet, probably move my computer like I normally do, and then just kind of generally fuck right off with myself. Alright, so I'll see you guys around.